Are you curious about the most potent thing? I once told a woman that I was too old for her, and she ended up pursuing me for months later. The strange thing is that I never really tried to persuade her. Otherwise, in the following minutes, you'll discover a straightforward three-step technique called TAP that transforms "you're too old" into "I can't stop thinking about you," and how to use it in real life. But before I reveal this counterintuitive tactic, let me show you why most men totally ruin their chances when a woman says, "You're too old for me," and how one of my friends just last week used this very objection as justification for choosing him over younger men. Over the years, I've examined hundreds of age gap partnerships, and after examining how males respond to this particular circumstance, I was surprised to learn the successful men were those who grasped this secret psychology, not the ones who appeared the youngest for their age. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share something that may cause you discomfort, because when a woman tells you that "you're too old for me," you're at a turning point that will define all of your interactions with younger women going forward. If you think about it, you've likely spent years gaining your confidence and success, your way of life, and in just 30 seconds, one incorrect answer can render everything irrelevant in her eyes. I've witnessed this hundreds of times. The prosperous CEO who stutters and instantly turns into an old man, the self-assured businessman who overproves himself and loses her respect, the charming professional whose entire body is shaken by this one comment. But the truth is that no one is discussing it. When she says "you're too old," you have a special opportunity that younger guys will never have. In fact, this objection may be the catalyst for her to become more attracted to you than before. Trap of the triple death. Allow me to demonstrate the three reactions that rapidly ruin an attraction. Since any one of these may quickly ruin her attention, I refer to them as the triple death trap. The first death trap is the defensive reaction. Death trap number 2 is the logic trap. Actually, studies show that age gaps can lead to more successful relationships, and older men are more emotionally mature and financially stable. Why this trap doesn't work is that you can't reason your way into her heart. As I always mention in my videos, you can't explain your way into her heart. I mean, I work out 5 times a week, and everyone says I look way younger. Why is this failing? Because you're essentially pleading your case, which tells her age actually a problem for you. The confidence killer. Well, I suppose I may be a little old for you, but why this doesn't work? The moment you accept her body and express doubt, you validate all of the preconceived notions she may have had about older men. But what if I told you that there was a way to take this precise moment, this supposed objection, and make it the reason she can't stop thinking about you? Here's something interesting. After coaching thousands of men, I've noticed that the same woman who tells one man he's too old frequently ends up dating someone even older. Last month, I had an elderly man, who I'll call James, visit me. He overheard a woman at a charity gala say these identical remarks. When a woman tells you that you're too old, she's not making a statement. Instead, she's asking 3 subtle questions. 2 months later, she was dating someone who was 12 years older than him. The difference wasn't appearances or money. Rather, it was understanding what she was truly saying. First, are you anxious about your age? Secondly, are you able to bear social pressure? She is more concerned about whether you are worried about your age than the number. She is considering how she will feel when she presents you to her family, friends, and social circle. 3. Do you genuinely believe in your identity? Most men totally fail this test, which is the biggest of all, but this is where things get interesting. Everything changes with the TAP method. I've created a 3-step reaction that I refer to as the TAP method that transforms this objection into attraction. And it works so well that occasionally I find myself wishing that women would bring up the subject of age. She's perfectly correct when she says, "You're too old for me." You're going to do something unexpected. Rather than defending or clarifying, you'll enhance it with a cheeky smirk. Notice what's going here. You're not just agreeing, you're exaggerating to the point of absurdity. I'm old, in fact. I just completed writing my memoirs from the Renaissance. This accomplishes 3 goals. 1 exhibits total self-assurance, 2 shows that you are emotionally unmanageable, and 3 changes. Most guys stop at this point, but we're just getting started. After your playful response, you'll move on to something more interesting, but I've noticed that you're pretty mature for your age, based on how you handled that situation earlier. Most women in their 30s wouldn't have that insight. Do you see what's happening? You've just reversed the roles by assessing her and offering a sincere, targeted compliment. What you saw about her P position and the poise shift is intriguing. This is the masterstroke. You're going to change the entire term with a single, well-timed word. In fact, I should definitely be more worried about if you're mature enough for me before you smile playfully. What's the most sophisticated thing you've done this month? This last move puts you in the role of selector, generates positive tension, and gives her an opportunity to prove herself to you. However, there's one more important component that most men completely overlook, and that's what SE distinguishes between men who get a date and those who develop real, lasting attraction. Recalling James from earlier, let me to demonstrate what transpired when he applied this precise technique last week. Let's dissect the precise execution, including the tone of the voice begins with a hint of amusement, moves into warm inquiry, and concludes with a playful challenge. The key to body language is to keep your posture relaxed. Slight tilt of the head whilst playing, maintaining a firm gaze throughout the power shift, gentle smile that lasts the entire time. Secret's first response, quick and playful second stage, reduce the pace and build anticipation. Power shift is supplied at a deliberate time. Here's what actually transpired next to James. He followed my instructions exactly when using the tap approach, but rather of receiving a favorable reaction, something unexpected occurred. After telling him he was too old, the woman began questioning him about his life experiences. 2 weeks later, she informed her pals that one of his best features right now is his age. But here's the true twist. She was actually older than the last girl he dated, but age wasn't the real problem. It never was. Now, let me show you something even more effective that will help you avoid this objection before it arises. A technique known as framing your age, which functions similarly to psychological Edo. Here are 3 effective frames that make age irrelevant. One of the things I love about being at this stage of life is that you get to understand things that most people don't appreciate until much later. You notice how this positions your age as an advantage without being defensive about it. 2. The social proof setup. Rather than strategically hiding previous relationships, my ex was actually about your age. It's interesting that she always said the best thing about our relationship was why this works. Illustrates the value flip, and the taboo factor are eliminated prior to the election. When we talk about life experiences, this is my favorite. Say something like, "You know what's fascinating about meeting people from different generations? You get to combine fresh perspectives with real-world wisdom, which is actually rare to find." Keep in mind that the idea is to naturally bring up these topics in conversation before age ever becomes a factor. It's similar to receiving a vaccination against the objection. When a woman encounters an older man, she has 2 conflicting narratives in her head. The social training that claims age differences are strange, and the natural attraction to confidence, experience, and masculinity by A. This is why the pre-framing technique is so effective. pre-framed as she saw it, allow me to demonstrate how to apply this in a real-world setting. In the first meeting, end the experience thread after 10 minutes and observe her response. If positive, go to the value flip scenario. In the second early dating phase, use social evidence to establish a natural flow into more in-depth discussions. Establish favorable connections with age. After years of researching and navigating age gap relationships, I've discovered the most potent truth. Men who succeed with younger women aren't the ones who look the youngest. Rather, they are the ones who make their age a part of their masculine appeal. Your age will either be your greatest asset or your greatest source of insecurity. What's more attractive, a man who's trying to hide who he is, or a man who's fully embraced his journey and the wisdom it's brought him? Recall how we began this video, and the woman who said I was too old for her later told me months later that it was precisely how I handled that moment with complete confidence and playfulness that made her realize she had never met a man so at ease in his own skin. The age gap, which had been her biggest concern at first, turned out to be one of the things she found most attractive about our relationship. Now it's your turn. What I want you to do is leave a comment below with your age and the biggest obstacle you're facing with younger women. Which of these methods will you attempt first?